recording is started. Yes, my subject, the presentations are not necessarily in this flow. Okay, there is some up and down that I have done, but I am telling you almost every session. I'm telling you at the beginning which chapter in your study material is what we are covering in the presentation. Okay, so today we will be covering international parity relations, which is your chapter number 5. Okay, so that is what I'm taking it forward. Okay, so yeah, before I begin, any questions? I would like to give you a minute or two. There have been few questions in the portal regarding some doubts you had. You can put it now also. Now also is the right time that we can discuss if you're all there. I see how many students. I have nearly 18 students are there. Can you just wait for 20-30 more seconds? If you don't put any question in the chat box, then I will move on with my lecture today. Next lecture, we will cover the 7th chapter. Okay, Mr. Yogesh, I think is this related to the assignment? You're interested in chapter number 7 because of assignment? Okay. After international parity relations, okay, I will actually be going to session number 6, which is forex risk. Yes, it will be related to chapter 7. Yes. Okay, by the way, Yogesh, when is your assignment last date? Yes, I know. 27th November, right? By that time, I think we will be completing the whole course itself. So you might probably want to, okay, don't tell me that you only want to attend the session where I'm going to cover chapter number 7. I hope that's not your, that's not why you are keen on attending classes. Okay. Yes, let it take its, you have time till 27th November, and to do question number 3, you don't need more than half an hour. You all have a big project. Okay. I'm telling you, question number 3 or any question will not require more than half an hour for you to do. So, and I'm specifically going to tell you when I'm covering that particular part. Okay. I'll mention that this is similar to what you have to do it in assignment also. And my suggestion is do that. Otherwise, what happens? There is no flow only. I'm telling you, I'm going in a particular flow. Now, if I suddenly from nowhere, if I just pick it up and start discussing, that question, it look odd. Okay, so you have time till 27 November. So I request you to please wait when okay, maybe next class or next to that, within the next 2 sessions, I'm going to be covering risk management. That is where your question number 3 will come. Okay, just be comfortable regarding your assignments. I will, ensure that it will be properly delivered to you. Okay, good. So let's move on now with this. There are no other questions I see in the message box, so I'll assume there are no questions. So last class, I did give you some introduction to this, what we're getting into now. It's called international parity relations. Okay, now the way you should look at it is, it's very simple, like in the international finance introduction when we gave, we said that the difference between international finance and domestic finance is the exchange rate and the behavior of the exchange rate in terms of its volatility, its fluctuations. Correct? Now that in international finance, Kamlesh Singh, yes, numerical questions. I don't know. Again, it's concept. Okay, for me, nothing is numerical, but yeah, there are few numerical questions here. Yes, there are. Okay. So basically, you're going to be forecasting the exchange rates. Okay, you're going to be forecasting the exchange rate. So naturally, it's got to do with numbers. Okay. So coming back, the difference between an international financial operation and domestic financial operations is that if you're a company which is operating within a country, then normal finance problems is what you have. Okay, but if you're managing an MNC company's finances, you naturally have the problem with exchange rates. Okay, problem as well as an opportunity. Correct? Exchange rates keep fluctuating. So there are multiple scenarios where as a finance manager of a MNC company or any company which is involved in international operations, majority of the most of the decisions will have to be modified to accommodate the exchange rate fluctuations. Things like, for example, it could be a price fixing. Like how do you fix a price for an export order, for instance? Okay, you have to keep in mind the exchange rate fluctuations, especially the expected exchange rate fluctuations. Point number one. Similarly, let's say you're taking a decision on some FDI, some major investment, capital investment that you're doing in some other country. Again, exchange rate has to be kept in mind when you're evaluating that particular project. Okay, so like this, you have risk management related, stuff, or anything, any process that you do in as a finance manager, you will be expected to keep in mind the exchange rate fluctuations. Now, when I say keep in mind the exchange rate fluctuations, one of the things that we need to definitely be able to tell or have in mind is how the exchange rate is exchange rate between my domestic currency and the currency of the interest for this particular transaction. Okay, how is it going to take shape? What is going to be the expected exchange rate. Okay, so for this there have been like for example, this is what exactly you do in any financial market, right? Even in stock market also you do that. In stock market also you try to forecast the stock price, right? And accordingly you will take your call, or any market for that matter. But here also you do that. But if you take a stock market, for example, how do you forecast or project the exchange rate, I mean stock price? You do a fundamental kind of analysis or a technical kind of analysis, right? Okay, which is basically has its own merits. Okay, now when it comes to exchange rates, what is the what is it that we need to keep in mind to forecast the exchange rate? Okay, how do I estimate the exchange rates? Okay, for that, one thing is we need to probably understand the driver of the exchange rate. Okay, first we understand the driver of the exchange rate. Okay, and then we will use that driver to predict the exchange rates. Okay, so that is the link here. Okay, that's the context for this whole international parity theories. Okay, now for that there are multiple theories which have been proposed. There have been multiple theories that have been proposed. Okay, now that is what we're going to be discussing now. Those theories are, to be simply put, purchasing power parity theory, interest rate parity theory, and international Fisher effect. These are the three major theories. We call it parity theory because they are proven theories. Okay, they're proven using empirical studies. All right, so yes, we are using the word theory. Are they practical? We will see. Okay, we will see. We will actually take a real exchange rate and we'll try to apply these theories and see if we are able to forecast it in the right manner. Okay, we'll see that. Okay, coming back to what we discussed last class also, I gave you an introduction about what drives the exchange rates, what factors influence the exchange rates. Correct? This we are trying to discuss now. So when we say factors influencing exchange rates, we said there are these three things. Okay, inflation rate, interest rate, and income levels. Okay, and then there is a government control and the expectations in the future exchange rates. These are the five major factors, which kind of is an exhaustive list. Actually, everything comes within this. We can't think of anything else that can probably bring a change in exchange rate. Okay, when I'm just going to restate it in another way now. Let's say if you're saying 75 rupees is the exchange rate per dollar in rupees. Okay, now tomorrow if it becomes 76 rupees, okay, what might be the reason behind that? So the reason could be one of this. Okay, the reason could be one of this, right? That's basically what we're coming to. Now let me just give you a quick overview of that. So relative inflation rates, one second. So the relative inflation rates, basically they affect what is called as the trade relations between the trading numbers of a country. Okay, for example, okay, first of all you need to understand that the exchange rate changes. The basic reason for the exchange rate fluctuation is the demand and supply. Okay, demand and supply, whereas inflation rate is something that will affect the demand and supply condition basically in the export import arena. Okay, for example, if the inflation rates in a country is higher, then what happens to the domestic product in the export market? Let's say India, let's say I'm a manufacturer of some particular product, okay, in India, and I'm exporting to different countries. Now let's say in India the inflation rate goes up. What happens to my cost of raw materials and other things? They also go up. Because of that, my cost of production goes up, so I have to increase the price of my product. Okay, so if I increase the price of my product, what happens? The exports will come down. Because the demand for my product in the international market goes down. Correct? If the demand goes down, what happens? Now the amount of exports will fall. How much as a country, when we are, whatever we are exporting, that will fall. So if the exports will fall, the demand for rupee will go down. The demand for rupee will go down. So if the demand for rupee will go down, the rupee becomes weaker. Correct? Rupee becomes weaker. Rupee will depreciate. That means 75 becomes 80 rupees, and so on and so forth. Right? So see, this chain rule, this chain relation is what something that you need to think, okay, to understand how inflation rate influences exchange rates. Okay, interest rates, same logic. Interest rates going up, okay, will affect in two ways. Interest rates going up will make the cost of production go up and increases the price of your product, and then the same logic what we told for inflation rate. Secondly, interest rates increasing will also attract more foreign investments into India. Okay, I'm using India as an example. Okay, let's say if we're analyzing India's exchange rate, rate with another currency. Okay, so if the interest rates in India goes up, then what happens? More foreign investors would find it attractive to invest in the securities of India. Correct? They bring in money here and invest in India. So when they invest in India, naturally the demand for rupee goes up, so the rupee becomes stronger. Right? That's the logic behind interest rates. And then you have income levels. Okay, general income level, be it the GDP, or you can say per capita GDP or per capita income. If you take as usual, when our income levels go up, okay, now we will be able to buy more luxurious products. One reason, okay, there can be, see, all of this can have multifaceted, multi dimensions to it. Okay, but I'm just trying to give you one or two dimensions in each of them so that you understand how these can have an impact on the exchange rate. So let's say the overall income level goes up, then what happens? Our import of luxury items also goes up. Correct? Today you see, like, so many of my own friends, for instance, like recently there's a new phone that got launched by Google, right? Pixel something. Okay, now I know of a lot of my friends who were told their friends abroad to buy it and send it to them by courier and all that. Okay, now see what is happening here. Now it's nothing but import, even though I'm giving a very an individual kind of a retail kind of an example, but still, like this, the luxury product imports will go up. Okay, if the income level go up. So now when that import go up, naturally the demand for rupee goes down. So rupee becomes rupee imports go up, then we'll have to pay dollars. So yeah, rupee depreciates, right? All right, that's one kind of one way of income level. Again, government control, like we talked about, one of the method of exchange rate system is the floating rate method, dirty float method, what we call as a managed float method, wherein the government will play in the markets to ensure that the exchange rate is in control. Okay, I don't know how many of you have been observing for the last, I think, 3 to 4 years or even more than that. Exchange rate in India has been between 70 to 75. You can observe it. Okay, that is how government of India wants to keep it. They want to keep the exchange rate between 70 to 75. Okay, you might be wondering, shouldn't we be letting it go down? Okay, letting it go down also will affect, because it will affect your exports. Go down as in, okay, right now it is 75. Should we try to bring it to 65, 60, 55? Isn't it good for us? Then what happens? Your exports will get affected. Okay, or if you let the other way, if you allow it to go up, then your imports will become costlier. Correct? So India do not want, the government of India would not want that risk. Okay, so they want to keep it as it is. Okay, so at least bring in more predictability to the whole thing. Okay, I hope you're following this. All right, so that is basically same. The government does the same with inflation rate also, right? India wants to keep the inflation rate between, I think, 4 to 6% range only. They don't want it to go more than 6 or below 6, or below 4 or something like that. Okay, so governments try to keep it in a particular range and want to operate. So for that, government takes a lot of steps. For example, they might kind of put some barriers, some introduce new taxes, etc. Okay, they can directly buy and sell. It's called open market operations, like they do in bonds. Okay, the government can buy and sell foreign currencies, such that it can control the supply of foreign money. Okay, and also it can bring in a lot of these monetary and fiscal policy changes. For example, tax on forex transactions. Fiscal policy, export promotions, for example. They can give some kind of subsidy for exporters, encouraging them to do more exports, etc. Discouraging imports. Okay, all these things can be done by government to control the exchange rate. Yeah, Arindam is putting a point. Arindam is putting a point. Sir, if the inflation rate is more than other countries where India exports its homegrown products as compared to India, then also Indian rupee becomes stronger. Yes. Oh, my voice is breaking a lot. Is that the same problem for everybody? Is my voice breaking? Then I'll have to change my Wi-Fi connection. So just give me a confirmation. Pooja says it's okay. Ram says yes. Okay, I should run a poll now. I think it is fine, Miss Anuradha. Can you please, maybe exit and rejoin back? It's happening because I've been taking class since morning, so I didn't find any problem as such. Can you please, recheck? Okay, let's do one thing. Okay, let's do one thing. Give me a second. Give me a second. Yes. Maybe I get it. I get it. Let me just give me 1 second, please. Please don't mind. 1 second. I'll just change the connection. 1 second, please. I guess it should be okay now. Let me know. Okay, wait for another 2-3 minutes. If the problem still persists, tell me. Okay, I think it should be fine now. Okay, I don't see any problem right now. Okay, let's see. Okay, coming back to, there was a point made by Arindam. Okay, yes, Arindam. Yeah, correct. You're right. It's vice versa. Correct. It's vice versa. In fact, that's what we discussed. Kind of gave you an example, if you recall last class, how the change in the in fact, it is the inflation rate differential. Inflation rate differential, that is what we need to understand. Here, I'm just giving you, as I told you, 1 or 2 examples for each case. I'm telling you just to prove a point that these are, this is the list of, those factors that will influence the exchange rates. Okay, but you're right, that if the inflation rate in other country increases, then we will benefit, and vice versa. Okay, very rightly said. Okay, good. So, and then finally we come to the expectations. Okay, which this is basically from the speculators in the market who also buy and sell in the forex markets, but not with any they really don't have a need to buy forex or sell forex. Okay, they're just there to make profits. Okay, like most of us are buying and selling a lot of these cryptocurrencies nowadays, right, to make profit. Not that we need cryptocurrencies to transact, even though the purpose of cryptocurrency or a Bitcoin by definition is to buy and sell, use it as a medium of exchange, use it as a currency. But we are buying and selling because the fluctuations keep changing. The prices keep fluctuating or changing. Because of that, we are kind of hoping that there will be some kind of a profit that I can earn. Right. So because of that, I'm, getting into, I'm trying to by that. So they are called speculative. So such activity happens, in fact, happens in a very more vast way in when it comes to exchange rate market. In fact, forex market entertains the maximum speculative activity than any other market in the world. Right. So these activities also bring about change in the exchange rate. All right. So then what we did is we kind of discussed about how the factors influence exchange rate. I think this I've explained. I'm going to skip this. And one small concept before we go ahead also is something that I discussed last class, was about the nominal and the real exchange rate. Okay. So nominal exchange rate is what is given, whichever website you visit or some bank you visit, the price that they quote is called nominal exchange rate. Whereas real exchange rate is when you adjust the nominal exchange rate for the inflation rate. Okay. Now this nominal and real is a concept which is generally applied even in the case of GDP, correct? Nominal GDP, real GDP, or nominal interest rate, real interest rate, correct? Similarly, we also have nominal exchange rate and real exchange rate. Basically, to know how much is the increase in the exchange rate. See what happens. Any of these variables, okay, be it income, interest rate, inflation, GDP or exchange rate right now, they are increasing. Okay, for example, the exchange rate has increased by 10%. Say, no, maybe during the period, inflation also has increased by 10%. So in that case, your real growth in the real change in the exchange rate is actually zero, correct? So because anyways the prices have increased, so because of that exchange rate has increased. So like this also we can see, right? So how do you differentiate that is what is the concept of nominal and real exchange rate. Okay, so look at the example here. Okay, it's quite self-explanatory, but just take a minute in looking at that. Yeah, so okay, it's 30 rupees per USD. I know it's unimaginable today, but I purposefully kept it like this. Just take a look at this. Any thoughts on this? Any idea? Any questions on this? Okay. Okay. So even though we see the nominal exchange rate has changed by 50%, okay, because your inflation itself has increased by 10, almost like 15 by 110, almost like 9%. Because of that, okay, your real exchange rate change is only 32%, not 50%. That means what explains the remaining 18% change? The remaining 18% change is because of the inflation rate. Okay, that means when you see an exchange rate which has changed from x to x plus 1, that plus 1 might be because of inflation rate, or it might be because of the actual demand and supply for the exchange rate. Okay, that's what is the point that we're trying to make here. Yeah, I'm just, it is not there in your material, sorry. Okay, now let's go into the theories. Okay, the three theories that we talked about: purchasing power parity theory, interest rate parity theory, and the international Fisher effect. Okay, I'm going to come to that. Let's just look at one basic concept. 1 second. I hope you recall this. 1 second. Just give me 1 second, please. Let's see, let's try to delete that. Okay, I'll quickly create it. Okay. Okay, if you recall this, 2021, we assume that, this is India and this is USA. Okay, we assume that the price of a commodity, okay, this is not like this. Okay, 2020, 2021. The price of a commodity in India and USA were 70 rupees and $1. 70 rupees. This is INR. This is USD. Correct. And then we kind of, assumed a no inflation environment. Okay, then what will be the exchange rate? This is the exchange rate. Okay, exchange rate would be 70 rupees upon 1. Correct. Okay, now we assume that one more scenario wherein we assume that inflation rate in both countries is equal. Okay, that means let's say India inflation rate will assume 5%, USA will assume 5%. Okay, so 2020 was 70 rupees and $1. 2021, this 70 rupees becomes how much? 70 multiplied by 1.05. Correct. Whereas the same goes with this also. $1 becomes $1.05. Correct. Now, if I were to calculate the exchange rate, see, exchange rate is nothing but a ratio, right? So the ratio 70 by 1. Okay. Now 73.5 by 1.05. There is actually no change in the exchange. Correct. So similarly, we assume one more scenario where inflation rate in India is more in India. Okay. If inflation rate is more in India, say for example, inflation rate in India is 10% and in USA it is 5%, then what happens? Okay. This multiplied by 1.10. So 70 rupees, what it is costing in India becomes 77, whereas in USA, what was costing $1 is costing $1.05. Then look at the exchange rate. Your exchange rate then increases to 73.33, naturally, because in India, the prices have gone up compared to USA. The percentage change is much more than that, right? So that is basically the concept of inflation. You can even change this number the other way and also see. So if in a country, the inflation rate is more than the the other country, okay, then the exchange rate depreciates. Okay, India's exchange rate depreciates, right? One second. Okay. So this is what we tried explaining, right? So now coming back here, now using that, I'm going to explain to you the theory of what is called as purchasing power parity theory. I mean, I just rushed through that because I gave you that example last class itself. So now what is happening there, if you keenly think, there is an economic theory called law of one price. Okay, that means a product or a commodity must be costing you the same, okay, wherever it is being sold. Okay, for example, if there is a product, let's say some some agricultural product which is produced in, let's say, in India and also in Sri Lanka. In both places, it should be, so assuming both India and Sri Lanka have the same currency, no exchange rate, etc. In both places, the commodity should be sold or bought at the same price. The price of the product should be same in both places. Okay, this is point one. Now, except the transportation cost from India. Let's say if Sri Lanka is not producing, then if I were to take this product from India and transport it to Sri Lanka and sell it, only the cost of transportation should be the one which should get added. Okay. Other than that, the price should be same in both places. Okay. That's what law of one price says. Now here, what is happening? If the law of one price were to remain, okay, then the only factor that can bring in change in the market price of the product, if there is a price difference in two countries, that could happen only because of change in the inflation. Okay, so that is the one price is absent. Okay, I mean, you will never find the same product being priced at the same level in both the markets. That is because of the inflation. Okay, that's basically called absolute purchasing power parity. Okay. Okay. So basically what we are saying is law of one price is the basis for purchasing power parity theory. Okay, now as I basically this makes it even better to understand. You just focus on this part. Okay, this is easier to understand than reading a lot of theory. If you just get this logic, okay, if this logic, I think that clearly explains. If there is a difference in the inflation rate between two countries, then exchange rates will definitely change. Okay, for this reason alone, because the prices of the commodities will increase. Now here we assumed one commodity. Here we assumed one commodity. So probably you might have to take a CPI or a wholesale kind of a price index to arrive at this number. Okay, any questions on this? Any thoughts, any questions on this? Can someone kind of just write 1 or 2 lines about what you understood? In simple words, if the inflation rates are different in different countries, if inflation rates are different in different countries, it is going to bring about change in the exchange rate. Okay, for example, between India and USA, next 1 year, assume that we are forecasting the exchange rate for the next 1 year. In India and USA in the next 1 year, if we assume that the inflation rate is not going to change, okay, in both India and USA, it is expected to be 5%. Then you can safely assume exchange rate will also remain same. Exchange rate will not change. Okay, that's what purchasing power parity theory says. Okay, if in USA inflation rate is going to be 5%, but if you think that in India inflation rate is going to be more than 5%, then you can assume that Indian rupee is going to depreciate against dollar. Or if you think that Indian inflation rate is expected to be lower than the US inflation rate, then you can expect the effect of that on the exchange rate to be that Indian rupee will appreciate against dollar. Okay, this is what purchasing power parity theory says. I will make it even simpler for you to understand and read it. Okay, look at this case. Look at this particular simple formula that we are putting here. Okay, all you have to do is to know, basically you're forecasting the exchange rate. So the change in the foreign currency in terms of domestic currency will be 1 plus inflation rate in home country divided by 1 plus inflation rate in the foreign country minus 1. 1 plus inflation rate in home country divided by 1 plus inflation rate in foreign country minus 1. You do this, you'll get the answer. Okay, for instance, let's try this. Okay, let's try this on this. Okay, we took this example, right? Let me put a small model here. Okay, IH. What is IH? IH is for me domestic currency is India, right? So I'll say IH. Okay, India inflation. I'll make it easier for you to understand. Okay, India inflation, we call it as IH. Okay, equals we said 10%. Okay, US, which is foreign country inflation, which is IF. Okay, equals 5%. We assume this also. Okay, and then we want to calculate the percentage change. So percentage change or change in exchange rate. Change in exchange rate is going to be, okay, what did he say? EF. Okay, EF equals 1 plus IH. 1. You can do it manually. Okay, I'm using Excel more like a whiteboard than an Excel function here. Okay, so it's nothing to do with 1 plus foreign inflation. So you can expect, okay, minus of the 1, minus 1. You can expect it to be the exchange rate to change by 4.76%. That means, let's say current spot rate, we'll say spot rate. Okay, let's say spot rate INR, okay, whatever amount per USD. Okay, per USD. Remember, my way of explaining this is how many rupees per USD. Okay, let's say it is around 75 now. Okay, so the expected exchange rate is going to be Again, INR per USD will be 75 multiplied by 1 plus 4.76%. I just increased it by 4.76%. Okay, see, we almost made a calculator here, right? So now you tell me, now all you have to do is, what is your current spot rate? 74. I can even directly put that number. Let's take out some numbers now. Okay. No, USD INR, what is the rate? 74.99. It's exactly 75 only. 74.99. What is the expected inflation rate in India? It's around 7%. Okay, 7% and all that. US inflation rate, it's expected to be around 3%. See, if I expect these inflation rates, okay, I will be able to predict my exchange rate. Are you with me? Now this line, this line, what I'm saying, if IH is more than IF, that is, if home inflation rate is more than foreign inflation rate, foreign currency appreciates. Okay, which is what is happening. IH is more than IF. Okay, which is what is happening to foreign currency. Foreign currency is appreciating, Indian currency or domestic currency is depreciating. Correct? No. Now reverse. If in India we expect it to be 3%, USD is expected to be 7%. So then 75 becomes 72. That means Indian currency has, domestic currency has become stronger or appreciated, right? So wherever the inflation rate is higher between the two countries, that country's exchange rate becomes, that country's currency becomes weaker. Are we following? Read this. That's all. This is what is interest rate parity theory. Okay. Somebody asked me about, 1 second, please. Sorry. So somebody asked me about numericals. Okay, this is the numerical. Basically, you have to, it's not even complicated, something like this. If you read this, you will understand. Basically, a home currency, inflation rate is given, foreign country inflation rate is given, and you just have to find out how much will the change be in the exchange rate. Assuming that the purchasing power parity holds good. Following, right? Are you all with me? Can I have some hi, hellos on the chat? Okay, fine. Okay, all right. Okay, so now that we kind of have an idea of the purchasing power parity theory. Okay, another example. Okay, anyways, it's there in the slide. So okay. So please note, nowhere we are saying using the word purchasing power parity theory. It's just that, in the question I'm asking you, okay, I'm giving you inflation rate, tell me the exchange rate, changes the exchange rate. Okay, so if inflation rate is given, you have to assume that you're going to be using purchasing power parity theory. Next, we are going to see interest rate parity theory, where we'll be using what is called as interest rate parity. Sorry, interest rates to predict the exchange rate. Okay, so that's basically what the logic is. Okay, another example here on the screen. Okay, so spot rate is 70, expected inflation is 6% in India and 2% in USA. Okay, because it is 70 rupees per USD, I'm assuming, always take direct quote as the, okay, so I'm assuming India is the domestic country. Okay, so change will be 1 plus 1.06, I mean 0.6, 6% and 1 plus 2% in the denominator. Take that minus 1. So it says that exchange rate will change by 3.92%. Currently the spot rate is 70. So just apply that on the 70. 70 into 1.0392 gives you 72.7. Okay. So okay. So if we have high inflation in India, this is what I was trying to tell you at the beginning. Imports will increase. Okay, why will imports increase? If we have high local inflation, domestic buyers will also not buy from us. They will probably find another country to be supplying cheaper. Okay, that is one effect. The other effect would be exports will decrease because our domestic products will become unattractive. Correct? So that will bring in a change in the exchange rate. Same goes when you don't have don't have, but you have lower inflation rate, okay, in domestic currency, or if you have inflation rates being same in both cases, then no impact of inflation on import or export, so that your exchange rate will not change at all, which is what we showed you here. Okay, if inflation rate is same in both cases, your exchange rate will also not change. I mean, exchange rate will not change. Yeah, this one. Okay. So fine, let's move on to the next segment called interest rate parity theory. And trust me when I'm saying this is a little confusing. It's going to be a little confusing for you if you don't concentrate, but very interesting concept to cover. Basically, we will be learning why interest rate parity theory holds good by learning a theory called covered interest arbitrage. Okay, so let us see how it goes. So before I go, if you recall now, purchasing power parity theory, another way of looking at it is, what did we say? We said that if the inflation rates are different in two countries, okay, that will have an impact on the exchange rate. Correct? Now we are telling if the interest rates in two countries are different, if they're not same, that will bring in changes in the exchange rate. Now, for this, you can give a generic argument also, saying that, okay, if interest rates will, changes in the interest rate will attract, more foreign investments or distract more foreign investors, etc. You can talk like that. Other than that, there is another way of, looking at, why interest rates will have an impact on the exchange rate, is by learning something called covered interest arbitrage. Now, what is covered interest arbitrage? It's a simple strategy. It's basically a strategy, an arbitrage strategy to be more precise. And I'm hoping that all of us understand what is an arbitrage by now. We saw cross rate arbitrage, right? Triangular arbitrage. So what did we do in arbitrage, trade there? Or any arbitrager, what does he do? What is he looking forward for? He is looking forward for making or earning a profit. Okay, earning a profit without taking any risk. He is just making use of some kind of a price mismatch in two different markets. Ideally, the price should be same. Okay, same as in it should be set in such a way that nobody can make that abnormal profit. Okay, ideally. All right. So that is what is arbitrage theory says. Okay, so now that we will try to discuss here, covered interest arbitrage. Okay, now I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to cover that and I'm going to come back to this. Okay, so just wait. Yeah, so what is covered interest arbitrage? Okay, please wait. I'm not skipping the slide. I'm going to come back to that, but we'll first understand covered interest arbitrage and then go there. So what is this? What is this covered interest arbitrage? It's a process of capitalizing the interest rate differential between two countries. Okay, covering your exchange rate risk with the forward contract. Okay, we will do a numerical example. It will make you very simple. Why we call it covered is because you're hedging your position against exchange rate risk. You're kind of covering yourself. Okay, you're not like Okay, number one. Number two, interest arbitrage. It's a process of capitalizing the difference between interest rates between two countries, basically an arbitrage. Okay, so let us look at this example, and I'm going to explain to you how we are going to convert this into a profitable opportunity. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, we'll do one or two examples to get a complete clarity on this. Give me a second. Okay, I'm going to and as I told you, you need to try to focus here. Okay, this requires some amount of understanding. Okay, 1 second. I'm just creating the Excel sheet which we can use to okay, so fine. This is what is given to you. Let me jot it down here. Okay, let me write down whatever information I have here. Spot rate. Okay, spot rate is given at 91.2 per pound. Okay, INR per GBP. Okay, INR per GBP spot rate is given, and 3-month forward rate. Okay, so what is this forward rate? I've already explained to you. This is a bank is ready. There is one dealer or a bank who is ready to contract with you. Okay, to buy or sell. In this case, we are avoiding the ask bid confusion here. So there is a bank which is telling that if you commit to buy, for example, or sell GBP, I can give you a rate of 91.7 today itself. Okay, so basically it becomes a forward rate or a forward contract. Okay, so this is a forward contract. You have a choice now to get into a contract to buy X amount of dollars, or sorry, pounds at 91.7. Okay, now see, understand this. Now that means what? The bank is forecasted the exchange rate at 91.7. That means the bank is ready to transact. No, that means, is that a right price? Have they kept in mind all the possible no arbitrage kind of a theory? Here is what we're going to see now. Okay, so now this is given. I'm going to calculate. Okay, let me write down this also. Interest rates. Okay, interest rate in India, okay, is given at 9% per annum. Okay, it's not mentioned per annum, but I'm assuming per annum. Okay, that's maybe I should mention it to you. 9% per annum. And interest rate in UK, is given at 5%. Okay, 5% per annum. Okay, so now if you see, there is an interest rate differential. Interest rate differential of how much? 9% minus 5%. Okay, this is the interest rate differential. I'll call it as IRD. Okay, then remember we had the forward premium discount that we calculated. Okay, so I'm going to calculate that forward premium or discount. I'll use the word FPD to refer to that. So the FPD, how did you calculate? If you remember, FPD equals ask minus bid divided by ask. Am I right? Right. This is how we calculated, and we analyze that, right, into 12 by n. We analyze that. Correct, no? So that's what I'm going to calculate now. I'm going to calculate the forward premium or discount. Okay, maybe you take it as a step. Okay, step-by-step process. First step, calculate interest rate differential. Second step, calculate forward premium discount. Okay, now see, the forward premium or discount that the bank is keeping is this 5.45. This is for a 3-month forward. So I'm going to divide it by 12 by 3 and convert this into a percentage, which comes to around 2.2%. Let me give an increased decimal. Okay, 2.2%, 4% and 2.2%. Okay. Now see, I'm going to write it like a equation only. Is IRD more than FPD? is IRD more than FPD? Okay, so IRD more than FPD. Okay, so it says true. That means yes, it is more than that. Okay, then is there an arbitrage opportunity? Okay, if this equals true, okay, yes, is there an arbitrage opportunity? Yes. Okay, now what to do? Okay, now I'm going to give you a thumb rule right now, and you will understand that at the end. Okay, I'm going to give you a thumb rule now. Okay, I'll probably write it here for now. Later you can. Okay, if the IRD is more than FPD, forward premium or discount, okay, the rule for you is borrow in foreign market. Okay, what it is, you will understand in a while. Just wait. Okay, and another rule is just the reverse of it. If IRD is less than FPD, borrow in domestic market. This is the, assume that this is the a rule or a thumb rule for you to trade an arbitrage trade. Okay, let's assume, keep it as it is. Okay, finally we'll try to make theory out of this. Right now just keep it as a rule. All right, now then what should be, where to borrow? I'm just saying. Okay, where to borrow, where to borrow. Okay, now I'm saying if this is true, borrow in foreign, I'll just say foreign market. Okay, or you borrow in domestic market. Listen, you don't have to do all these things in your exam. As in, you're not expected to write. I mean, you don't need an Excel to do this. I'm just, imagine that I'm writing it on a whiteboard. Okay, so where to borrow? It says, one second, I think I just have to delete these codes. Yeah, so this is the logic. So I'm also kind of creating a calculator here. Okay, later, let's say if you find it like this, it will tell you, it will change, things will change, for example, 3%. Okay, so domestic market, everything changes. So I'm kind of making a simple model. All right, so now simple logic. First I calculated my interest rate differential, then calculated my forward premium discount, and then if the IRD is more than FPD, okay, yes, then is there an arbitrage opportunity? Yes. Where to borrow? If IRD is more than FPD, you should borrow in foreign market. Let's say if IRD was, let's say for example 1%, then it would have said borrow in domestic market. Okay, we'll see that later. Right now, just focus on this. I'm going to borrow in foreign market. Okay, let me paste it here. Now I'm going to write step-by-step process. Okay, let's firstly step 1. Okay, that is actions today. What do we take? What actions do we take today? Okay, my step number 1. My step number 1 is borrow. One second. Is there a amount mentioned? No. Okay, so I'll assume something. Okay, you can tell me any amount. I'm going to match it with what I've already done. So I'm going to say borrow. Remember, I have to borrow in foreign market. Foreign market means what? UK. Borrow in UK money market. Okay, I'm assuming money market is a place where you know that you will borrow or lend. Whatever you want to do, you can do it in the money market. It could be bank, but still money market. Borrow in UK money market around 2 lakh. You borrow in money market around 2 lakh pounds. Okay, at what rate of interest you can borrow? You will borrow at 5% per annum rate. 5% per annum for 3 months. You borrow it. This is my first step. How did I? This is the only step that you need to decide. Rest all is just a mechanical process. Okay, so borrowing UK money market 2 lakh pounds at 5% per annum for 3 months. Why am I saying I'll borrow in UK money market? Because I have a thumb rule. Using that thumb rule, I've decided this. This thumb rule will by default will give me profits. I'm going to show you that. Okay, so then after that, what is my step 2? Step 2. Now throughout this, I want you to imagine you have your hand like this. You have 2 lakh pounds on your hands. Right now, I just borrowed from UK money market and I have 2 lakh pounds in my hands. Okay, so fine. Now, actually sell or convert, you can say, sell GBP 2 lakhs, what you have in hands, okay, into INR, okay, at spot rate. What is the spot rate? INR 91.2 per GBP. Am I right? So can you tell me how much will this be? I will do 2 lakh, okay, multiplied by 91.2. Am I right? So that will be what? 2 lakh. Okay. I'll show you in a calculator. We'll do it. 2 lakh multiplied by 91.2. Okay, around 1 crore 82 lakh 40,000. INR 1 crore 82 lakh 40,000. 1 crore 82 lakh 40,000. This is what you will have in your hands, right? So now let's go to step 3. Simple. You borrowed in UK, converted that into rupees now. Okay, you have 1 crore 82 lakh 40,000 with you now. Okay, now I'm telling invest INR 1 crore 82 lakh 40,000. Invest INR 1 crore 82 lakh 40,000 in Indian money market. Okay, what rate can you invest in India? You can invest it at 9% per annum. 9% per annum. Invest it for 3 months. Okay, that's one thing. So what you did today, you borrowed 2 lakh pound from the UK money market, then you converted that into India and you invested in Indian money market for next 3 months. Simple. I borrowed at 5%, invested at 9%. Fine. One last step, step 4. Step 4. See, you borrowed in UK money market, right? That means at the end you need to pay back. You borrowed in GBP, that means you need to pay back. Or another way of looking at it is, what did you do with GBP? You sold GBP, that means you need to buy back GBP. So when you want to buy GBP back after 3 months, that is to pay 2 lakh. Now you've taken a loan, now that loan has to be repaid. That means you need GBP for that. Okay, so for that, what you need to do is you need to enter into a forward contract with bank, okay, to buy GBP, okay, in 3 months time at INR 91.7 per GBP. Enter into a forward contract with the bank to buy GBP in 3 months at INR 91.7 per GBP. Simple. Now, this is my actions today. That's it. After that, nothing else you have to do. After that, just come back after 3 months. After 3 months, what happens? Exactly after 3 months. What happens on the last day of the 3 months? Okay. Step 1. Step 1. Receive maturity of the Indian money market investment. Okay. How much will you receive? In India, how much did you invest in the first place? You invested 182,40,000. You invested, okay, multiplied by, it will give you 9% return. So 9% means 9% is for 1 year. Okay, so it will be 9% divided by 4. Okay, 9% divided by 4, which is around 2.25%. 2.25%. Sorry. Yeah, 2.25%. So I'm just going to write it here. One 1.0225. Yeah. Okay. How much will this give me? 182,40,000 multiplied by 1, or I'll just say 1.0225. Which will give me INR 1 crore 86 lakh 50,400. 1 crore 86 lakh 50,400. Perfect. Okay. So this is what I will get at the end. Okay. Then comes my step number 2. Okay. Now in my hand, I have 1 crore 86 lakh 50,400. Okay. What will I do is sell INR 186,50,400 into GBP at forward contract, forward rate. Right now, you had already entered the contract 3 months ago. Use that now. Forward rate INR 91.7 per GBP. So how much will you get? You will have 1 second. 1 crore 86 lakh 50,400 divided by 91.7. Okay. 186 50,400 divided by 91.7, which will give you 2,03,385 approximately. GBP 2,03,385. Okay. This is what you'll have on hands. Forward rates after 3 months would be different or same? I didn't understand your question. See, this is the forward rate as of today for after 3 months. Ms. Mahalakshmi. Okay, Mahalakshmi's question is forward rate after 3 months would be different or same? It will be same, no? I mean, you signed up to buy, buy GBP at 91.7 3 months ago itself. Remember this this transaction? The bank has already agreed to sell you, GBP at 91.7. Ms. Mahalakshmi, you can say yes, no, or what was your question otherwise? Got it, no? Yeah, you already have the agreement. Yeah, okay, fine. So GBP 2,03,385, okay, is what you have. Now step 3 would be repay the UK money market loan. Remember, this is, you've taken a loan, no? 2 lakh pounds you've taken. So how much you need to pay? 1 second. 2 lakh you borrowed into, see, 5% per annum for 3 months. Okay, 5% is per annum. So 5% divided by 4 I'll do, which will be around 1.25% for 3 months. Okay, so I'll say 1.0125. Okay, so plus 1 or 2 lakh into 1.0125. It's around 2,02,500. You need to repay around GBP 2,02,500. Okay, that's it. Step 4, it's actually not a step. This is the consequence of your whole action. Take home arbitrage profit, okay, of 2,03,385 minus 2,02,500, which is around GBP. How much is this? 885. So you made a profit of around 885 without taking any risk. That is the keyword here. That is why it's called an arbitrage. Without taking any risk. Where is the risk for you? There is no risk only, no? Everything is automatic. You borrowed 2 lakh, you know that you have to repay. Converting, the spot rate is anyways known, already given by the bank. Okay, then invest in the money market in India. Again, the rate is already known. You're going to be investing at that rate, and you're entering into a forward contract. So that also is available. The bank is agreed for this rate. Okay, then receiving maturity market is not anything to do with, because whatever happens in the market, whatever investment that you have done, they will give you 9%. It's a money market instrument, not an equity instrument, right? So this is also guaranteed. Your exchange rate, exchanging the INR into GBP at 91.7, that is also not risky, because you've already agreed. The bank has already signed that they will sell you GBP at 91.7. Correct? The money market loan you will repay, of course. The thing that you need to. So everything goes as planned. Okay. Think of it, okay? You have not invested a single rupee in this or a pound in this. You have not invested your money. 2 lakh rupees you borrowed from somewhere else. It's not even your money. Your investment is zero in this whole strategy. Without investing anything, okay? Just playing around the interest rate scenarios in the market, you're able to earn this profit. Okay, the same process gets reversed. Okay, in case if interest rate differential is less than the forward premium discount. Let's say if this was 2.2% and this was 4%, you would have reversed it. You borrow in Indian money market, convert into GBP, invest in UK money market, and then receive all this process. Okay, that's the only thing change. The rule I give. Now you understand the rule. Now, just before I give you a break, before that, I just summarized one thing, and I'm going to come back and take your questions also. Just want to tell you now, this is actually not possible. I don't want you to take that I'm giving you a trading strategy for you. It is not a trading strategy. It is trying to tell you that this cannot be there. The bank cannot fix a rate like this. Okay, especially the banks, when the bank or the dealer knows that the interest rates in India and UK are expected to be 9% and 5%, they have to do a reverse calculation. Okay, let me, I'm just thinking, okay, wait. Now let me go back here. See, look at this. Take this 1 plus R plus H, 1 plus R plus F. Sorry, RF. What does this mean? The home interest rate and foreign interest rate. Okay, let us take both of them. One second. Okay, let's do this. Okay, it's going to take some time. So let's take a break. Okay, just for 5 minutes, and then we will be back. And I'm going to explain to you if interest rate parity holds good, how this arbitrage will not be possible. Okay, we'll just break for like 5 minutes, not more than that. Is that fine with all? Meanwhile, you can just go through this. You are a very silent batch, guys. Okay, thank you. I'm keeping the screen open. Okay, I'm keeping the screen open. So just go through it. Yeah. If any of you have any question, you can post it. While others are coming, we can discuss. Okay, shall we start? Okay, great. Fine. So welcome back, all of you now. So I hope this part is clear so far. Should I do one more example like this? I mean, we can quickly do that now that the calculator is there. If you want, I can do it. Otherwise, I can just go on to the next part. Are we clear? Just can I have some quick feedback? Or whichever part you want me to explain, I would like to explain. One more example. Okay. Okay, one more. Fine. We'll do that. We'll do that. In fact, I'm just going to copy this and let's try doing this, maybe real time. Okay. Now, let's do this. I want you to give me the calculations. Okay. I'm going to write down for you, and I really need interaction in this case right now. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to take out real numbers. Okay. Let's say one USD is 75. Okay. Okay, let's take that. Now, instead of GBP, I'm going to use INR per USD. Okay, INR per USD, which is 74.99. Let me be more specific. Let's say the 3-month forward rate. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm extremely sorry. I just have one more point to explain, and then I'll come here. Okay. I'm sorry. I'll give you one more example. Okay. I'm sorry. I'll just quickly explain one more calculation here, and I'll come back. I'll give you one more example. So let us look at this. Okay, this is how the if the interest rate parity were to hold good, how do you incorporate interest rate expectations in your forecasting of exchange rate? Like we did for the inflation rate, you do the same thing here also for the interest rates. Okay, like in inflation rate, what you did in purchasing power parity theory, 1 plus IH, 1 plus IF, right? Now I'm using interest rate in this case example. For example, you have the example also here. Now, if this is the interest rates, 9% and 5%, what should be the theoretical expectation for the exchange rate? Okay, let me do that. Okay, just maybe I'll try here this time. Okay. Interest rate in India, interest rate in UK. Okay. So in India, it says it's 9%. In UK, it says 5%. Okay. I'm going to convert these into 3 monthly rates. Okay. 3 monthly rates. 9% divided by 4 and 5% divided by 4. Okay. So just wait. 2.25, 1.25% is the interest rates, right? So that means there is a difference in the interest rate. Now, what is the change in exchange rate? Change in exchange rate expected to be going by this formula 1 plus RH by 1 plus RF, right? Okay. 1 plus RH, this is RH divided by 1 plus RF. Okay. Minus of 1. If I do it, it will tell me how much is the expected change in the exchange rate. Okay. So it's approximately 1%. Okay. Approximately 1%. Fine. Now, what is the spot rate currently INR to GBP? In this example, it is 91.2. Am I right? So 91.2 okay. INR per GBP. So, sorry. So estimated exchange rate should be, or expected exchange rate should be how much? 91.2 multiplied by 1 plus 0.99%. Right? So that means it should be 92.100 INR per GBP. Array, what is wrong? Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, this is similar to what we did in the case of purchasing power parity theory. Okay. I'm giving you interest rates. Using the interest rate parity formula, you should be able to predict the exchange rate. Now, according to us, this is a theoretical price. 92.10 should be the theoretical price. Now, let me assume that the bank also gives the same rate, which is 92.10. Including decimals, I'm going to take it. That means what? 92.10. See, what is the bank quoting? Bank is quoting 91.7. That is actually really what they are quoting. But according to you, assuming the interest rate differential, it should be 92.10. If this is 92.10, right? If this is 92.10, this arbitrage will not hold good. Okay, let me explain how. See, 9%, 5%. Interest rate differential is 4%, and forward premium or discount is around 3.9%. Okay, sorry, C2. This is sorry, bid ask. Sorry, forward premium discount is ask rate minus bid rate divided by bid rate. Okay, not ask rate divided by bid rate. So now see, this interest rate differential does not exist because the forward premium discount is also 4%. Interest rate differential is also 4%. Okay, point number 1. So therefore, interest rate parity is holding good. Therefore, there is no arbitrage opportunity. Kamlesh, you want me to do it on the new page? In fact, I'm done almost. See, what I'm saying is there is no need to, there is no opportunity at all. Okay, fine. I take your point. I take your point. Let's say, for example, this was 91.2 INR by GBP. Okay, and this is, let's say, 92.10. Okay, and the interest rates are given like this. This is done. This is only C2. There's a formula error. 1 second. Yeah, 4%, 4%. True. Okay. Now see this calculation. Okay, I'm going to show this calculation one more time. Okay, I hope all of you are on the same line. Okay, so let's assume that the same strategy will work out and see how much will my profit change. Okay, a profit is going to be 0. Okay, so borrow in UK money market 2 lakh pounds at 5% for 3 months. Fine. Sell GBP at the spot rate. This also is fine. You get 1 crore 82 lakh 40,000 on your hand. You invest that in the Indian money market at 9% for 3 months. That is also fine. Enter into a forward contract at what rate? Not at 91.7. It is 92.10. Correct? So this will change. 92.10. Okay. Now, receive maturity. Yes, that will not change. Now, when you convert that rupee into GBP, now you're going to use 92.10, not 91.7. Okay, so how much will that be? 92.10. It's actually not 92.1. It is actually 0.0007 something. 1007. Okay, so I'm going to use that number only to calculate this. So how much will how many GBPs will I get? I will get something like this: 186,5400 divided by this number, which is around 2,02,500. So repay the money market loan, 2,02,500. So how much profit will you have? 0. That means what? If interest rate parity holds, that is the interest rate differential and the forward premium discount is not same, then it cannot give any arbitrage opportunity at all. It is a no arbitrage price. Even if you borrow in domestic market and change the whole strategy, no strategy can give you a profit here. This is what I wanted you to understand. I'll give you one more full example, but just take a look at this. If this number, this is theoretical price according to our interest rate parity theory price. If the real forward market price is not this, then it will give an arbitrage opportunity. Therefore I said arbitrage opportunity cannot exist. Arbitrage opportunity cannot exist. Correct? I mean, another way of explaining is, even if such arbitrage opportunity, let's say for example 91.7, this was what, 91.7, no? If this is 91.7, now this strategy everybody sees. I mean, there may be like 1 million arbitrages in the market who are looking for such opportunities. When they're looking for such opportunities, what will they do? Just think and stay with me on this example, okay? What are arbitrages doing in the market now? They see this opportunity. So everybody will come to sell GBP. I'm talking only about Forex market. Everybody is selling GBP and buying INR in the spot market. When everybody is selling GBP, buying INR, what happens to this price? When the demand for GBP reduces and demand for INR increases, what happens? 91.2 starts moving upwards, correct? 91.2, 91.3, 91.4, it will start moving upwards, okay? Because the demand for rupee is increasing. When the demand for rupee increases, this will keep moving upwards, and opposite happens in the forward market. So then what happens? It will keep coming down to this price, 91.7, it will keep coming down to this price. Sorry, now from this price to 92.10, sorry, from 91.7, it will keep moving upwards to 92.10 because the demand for forward contract is going up. Okay, so that way what happens? Automatically the price will reach the equilibrium. Okay, so this is what is covered interest arbitrage. I'll take one more example and I'll explain to you. Okay, any other question you have? I mean, anything that is still not fully clear, let me know. As I told you, I'll take a real, as much as possible, we'll take real numbers. Okay, INR per USD. Okay, right now it is 74.99. Now let's say forward rate should be how much? Okay, let's do an interest rate parity here. Okay, interest rate in India, let us take it at something like 5% in India. Okay, interest rate in US should be how much? Interest rate in US should be, I don't know how much it is, 2% maybe. Okay, and for simplicity, we'll keep it as 1 year expected exchange rate. 1 year is the term. So change in exchange rate is around 2.94% is expected. Currently, the spot rate is INR GBP is 74.99. So that means expected estimate rate in 1 year should be 77.20. Okay. Now, according to the theory, it should be 77.20. Okay. If this is not 77.20, then it gives rise to arbitrage opportunity. Okay. Let's say, for example, it is something like 79. Let's say it is 79, which is actually not matching our arbitrage. There's a bank which is saying that it will transact USD at 79 after 1 year. Okay, for some reason. Okay, interest rate in India, we took it as 5%. US interest rate in USA, we took it as 2%. Okay. Now now you know that interest rate differential is 3%. Interest rate differential is 3%. Are you with me? Forward premium discount, let me recalculate. Okay. Forward rate minus spot rate divided by spot rate. It is per annum only, so I'm not going to touch that. So forward premium or discount is around 5.3%. So far clear? So far clear? Just let me know. Are you following? Am I confusing you? Or is it too easy that I'm explaining unnecessarily too much? Okay. So far, okay. 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 Fine. Now, is IRD more than FPD? No. Is there an arbitrage opportunity? No. Actually, arbitrage opportunity will be yes. Okay. One second. This is not equal to this. Is there an arbitrage opportunity? Yes. If these two numbers are different, no, if they're not equal, then there is an arbitrage opportunity. Okay. Where to borrow? Borrow in the domestic market. What is domestic market? India. Okay. So you borrow in India and invest in USA. Okay. I hope that works. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, my rule should stay. IRD is less than FPD, borrow in domestic market. Perfect. Okay. Now let us write one by one steps. Okay. I'm going to delete and rewrite. Okay. Let me know if I'm whichever. Okay. As I told you, I want you to calculate. Okay. Let's see. So firstly, I will borrow in Indian money market. Okay. How much do we borrow? We'll borrow 1 million. Borrow 1 million in Indian money market. Okay. That's going to be our borrowing initial. INR 1 million at what rate? At what rate? 5% per annum for 1 year. Perfect. Right? We'll do that. And then what do? We will sell INR 1 million. Okay. And buy USD at spot rate. How much is that? INR 74.99 per USD. Okay. Now, how much do we get? How many USDs do we get? So that would be 1 million INR divided by 74.99. Am I right? 1 million INR divided by 74.99. Okay. So that would be how much? 1 million by 74.99. So it's around 13,335. Yeah. Thank you. Correct. 13,335.11 USD is what you have on your hand now. Then what do? We invest USD 13,335.11 in US money market. At what rate can we invest? We can invest in USA at 2% per annum for 1 year. Okay. And then what do? See, we borrowed in Indian money market. So we have to repay in Indian money market. And we have invested in US. So we're going to get the maturity which we need to sell. So we need to enter into a selling contract with bank in forward market. Sell USD after 1 year at what rate? After 1 year at INR 79 per USD. Okay. This is what we'll do. Okay. So after 3 months, what happens? 1 second. Okay. After 3 months, what happens? Okay. Firstly, receive maturity proceeds of US money market investment. Okay. How much will you receive? You will receive around, it should be 1 year. Which one? Kamlesh? Yeah, okay. Yeah, right. After one, perfect. Okay, receive maturity proceeds of, this one. Let me just move it a little bit. So how much did I invest? I invested 13,335.11 USD. I invested multiplied by 1.02. 1.02. So which is going to give you how much? It's going to give you 13,601 USD, 13,601.81. So you have on your hand 13,601.81. What do you do with that? You sell USD 13,601.81. Okay, at the pre-agreed forward rate, correct? Pre-agreed forward rate. How much was it? 79. INR 79 per USD. Perfect. So 13,601.81 multiplied by 79 is what you will get, right? Okay, 13,601 into 79. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So you will get around INR 1.074543 millions. I mean 1.07 millions approximately. Around 74,000 more than 1 million what you borrowed initially. Then what we do? Simple. Repay the Indian money market loan. Okay, Indian money market loan. Repay the Indian money market loan with interest. So how much did you borrow in the first place? 1 million. Okay, multiplied by 1.05. That's it, right? Which is INR 1 million into 1.05, which is 50,000. 1050. Okay, so take home arbitrage profit. $0.74543 minus 1050. So around INR 24,543. Just correct me if my profit. No profit. Yeah. INR 24,543 you are going to take home. Yeah. Got the logic now? So this cannot exist. Okay. By the way, it's not a profit making class here. I mean, how to make profits in forex markets? No, this is not possible. This cannot exist. This kind of an opportunity cannot exist. Okay. If it exists, then that means the pricing is not correct. Okay, so automatically the market will correct. The arbitrages will. That's why we say no. Speculators are needed in the market for liquidity purpose. Arbitrages are required for them in the market for price discovery purpose. They bring the price into equilibrium. Just think over it. Okay, had this price been 77.20, then this would not have existed. Can we try that quickly? I'll just quickly try that. Okay, I'll just copy this and I'll paste it somewhere here. Okay, let's say if the price was 77.20, what would have happened? Okay, now that we have things in place. Okay, maybe I'll just link with this. Is my formula not working? Forward premium discount, is it R2 or R3? No, it is. Okay, it's close actually. I don't know why it's not fully showing 77.20. I even linked it. Okay, it's okay, no problem. Okay, it's almost equal. Yes, I'm sharing. That's why I'm writing in so much detail. I am sharing this Excel. This is your study material for this chapter from me. Okay, therefore I'm writing in detail. Okay, so I'm sharing this Excel. That's why I'm writing in detail. Okay, fine. So now see, it's almost equal. Due to decimals, I think some issue is there. Due to decimals, it's not, but it's almost equal. So arbitrage opportunity cannot exist. Now let us see if with this exchange rate, if our strategy can work. Okay, so borrow in Indian money market, 1 lakh, this will not change. Sell INR 1 million and buy USD at spot rate 74. This also will not change. So you will buy 13,335 USD and you invest this USD 13,335 in US money market at 2% for 1 year. Fine, that also you do. But when you enter into the contract, you enter in for not 79, but for 77.20 per USD. Okay, fine. So receive maturity will not change. Yeah, this one will change, 77.20 per USD. This will not change. So how much will you get here? 77.20. When you sell 13,601 at 77.20, how much do you get? 33,601.81 multiplied by 77.20. You will get, sorry. Yeah, 1 second. Where did I go wrong? 13,601. Yeah, it's around, yeah, approximately 105 only. Correct? 50,000. One second. 1050,060. Yeah. Okay. So approximately 60. That is also happening because of some rounding off error here that I've done. Okay, it will be 0. It's actually 0. Okay. 1050,060. Okay, so INR 60 are almost equal to 60 rupees are on 1 million, profit. You can, it's nothing, right? That's happening because of rounding off of certain things here. Like for example, when we converted this, we rounded off and all that because of that. So literally 0. So that means if your 1 year forward rate is fixed by the bank using the interest rate parity theory, okay, then the arbitrage opportunity is not possible. Nobody can come into the market and make arbitrage profit. So that is a no arbitrage pricing. Okay, I hope you are able to follow this now. Just let me know if you have any questions. Clear, no? Logic is simple. You just need these 4 inputs. Okay, you need these 4 inputs and then calculate this and arrive at this stage, where to borrow. For that, you use this, what is called as the rule, thumb rule, or however you want to call it, cheat sheet or whatever. Use this to and start with this. After that, the process is mechanical. If you go through it like multiple times, it's a mechanical process. Okay, fine. This is basically called covered interest arbitrage. And the theory is that interest rate parity has to hold good. If the interest rate parity does not hold good, it will give rise to such arbitrage opportunities. And arbitragers will then enter the market. When they enter the market, they will bring the price to equilibrium because the demand for INR and USD will accordingly change in spot and forward market. Okay, so that's what we are trying to explain here. Now you go back. 1 second. Yeah. Correct. Arbitrages capitalize on the discrepancies between forward rate and interest rate differential. Okay, so therefore IRP should hold good, and calculation or forecasting the exchange rate using IRP is same. Simple. You take the interest rate and calculate the expected exchange rate. Same, just instead of I, you change it to R. That's all. Okay. So. Okay. Yeah, same problem I've also written down here as a step-by-step process. So I'm also giving you the steps. This slide is already available to you. So just now that you understand the process, now if you read the slide, you will understand it better. Yeah, this is the thumb rule that I was trying to give you. Okay. Actually, there is a logic. Okay, even though I'm using the word thumb rule, there is actually a logic. The logic is that you are, if the IRD is more than FBD, means that the interest rates are more than the, the supposedly the forward premium discount should have been more. So therefore, the profit opportunity exists in borrowing and lending. You're making profit by borrowing and lending. That means you're borrowing at a market where the interest rate is low and selling at a market where the interest rate is high. That is how you're making profit. If IRD is less than FDP, then your profit making shifts to make the profit where the exchange rate is lower and where the exchange rate is higher compared to the theoretical exchange rate. Okay, so there's a logic it, but again, I'm not getting into that logic. I'm just telling you it's a thumb rule, because end of the day, if you know this, the very moral of the story is that this kind of a difference cannot exist in the market. If it exists, it will give rise to arbitrage opportunities, and it should not happen, right? Yeah, another example. Yeah, in summary, this is how we can explain the summary. So CIA covered interest is not possible on IRP line. IRP line, if you look at this graph, okay, say for example, take A, okay, not C, we'll take C. So according to what is the point C? Point C says that your interest rate, the interest rate differential is 1%. Your forward premium is also 1%. So if this is 1%, this is also 1%, it falls in the IRP line. So if it is an IRP line, CIA is not possible. Covered interest arbitrage is not possible. But if you take point Y, okay, in point Y, your forward premium is 4%, whereas your interest rate differential is around 2%. So this will give rise to arbitrage opportunity. Okay. So, and then we move on to international Fisher's effect. Now, Fisher's effect is, little, it's just simply, you'll be surprised to know that we've already discussed Fisher effect. We talked about interest rate parity theory and inflation purchasing power parity theory. When you combine both of them, that becomes international Fisher's. Okay. So before we move in, you need to understand one thing. Fisher's effect is different from international Fisher's effect. I mean, it's the same person who contributed, but what Fisher gave is the concept of that nominal and real. Wherever we have learned that nominal GDP, real GDP, nominal interest rate, real interest rate, nominal exchange, wherever that concept of nominal and real, nominal return, real return, that was introduced by Fisher. Fisher is an economist who introduced the effect of inflation in all these growth rates, correct? So now we are using his theory, Fisher effect theory, and adopting it for the exchange rates. Therefore, we call it as international Fisher's. Okay, so basically Fisher's effect tells you that the interest rate will generally have two components: the real growth in the interest rate, real interest rate, and the inflation. So today, if in India we talk about interest rates to be around 5.5%, there is an inbuilt inflation rate in that, and then there's a real interest rate expectation also by the investor. Now, the inflation rate, why it occurs, all of us know. What is the concept of real interest rate? Real interest rate is the real, first of all, what is interest rate? Interest rate is the the return that you have to give me because I've lent you money. I have sacrificed the consumption of the money for, and I gave it to you. You need to compensate for it. Correct? So that is basically the real interest rate. Okay. The compensation that you give to me for sacrificing my consumption. Okay. I could have used my money today. Instead of that, I'm giving it to you. Correct? So for that sacrifice, you're, giving me the interest rate. Okay. So that is real interest rate. So how that is actually subjective. Country to country, it changes. How much can satisfy a, user for his sacrifices of not using the money today, but later. Correct? That depends on country to country, and generally countries will announce, like for example, in RBI does announce the real interest rates. RBI, but announce as in they don't announce what is there in the minds of all the lenders and borrowers. Instead, it announces the regular interest rates, nominal interest rate, and you also know the inflation rate. So you can arrive at the real interest rate by this. Okay. Yeah. So now how do you use the Fisher effect to focus the exchange rate? Okay, let's take a step-by-step process here. Let's say in USA and Canada, the nominal interest rates are given to be 13% and 8%, and the real interest rate are given to be 2%. So if these two numbers are known, try to determine the inflation rate. So take a difference between the two. Like in USA, I think the inflation rate or implied inflation rate or expected inflation rate seems to be 11%, because the real interest rate that the lenders or investors require is 2%, but in the market is quoted 13%. That means that 11% must be for the inflation. Whereas in Canada, it is around 6%. So that means what I'm doing, using the nominal rate and the real rate, I'm deriving assumed as the implied expected inflation. Now take that and apply that inflation rate in our purchasing power parity theory. Okay, slight different way of looking at it. Okay, it's not a real new formula. We already know purchasing power parity theory. So I'm going to use purchasing power parity theory to determine the exchange rate. So even international Fisher effect also, it says that inflation rate is the only reason why the exchange rate fluctuates. Now, what is the inflation rate? That you can arrive at by reworking on the nominal rate and the real interest. So take the difference between the two to get the inflation rate, apply that in the purchasing power parity theory, and then calculate the expected exchange rate. Okay, that's it. That's all is international Fisher. Okay, so another example. So nominal interest rates are 2% in US, and in India it's around 8%, and real interest rates are given at 1% and 5%. So in USA, it seems the expected inflation rate is 2 minus 1, 1%. In India, it's 8 minus 5, 3%. Okay. So take that 1% and 3%, apply that in our purchasing power parity formula, and you will be able to get the change in the exchange rate. Apply that on the exchange rate. Exchange rate is 70 rupees. So 70 rupees depreciated by 1.98% will be 71.38%. Okay. Yeah. So again, similar to IRP, you can also have a IFE line, International Fisher Effect line also. Note that, just a broad understanding, International Fisher Effect combines both the purchasing power parity and the interest rate parity theory. Okay, so just a clarity now. First of all, it's a very interesting way of putting it across. Okay, I took it from a textbook, by the way, not your book, but some other textbook. See, let's talk about purchasing power parity theory. Purchasing power parity theory tells you, using the inflation rate differentials between two countries, you can forecast the exchange rate. So the relationship is called purchasing power parity theory. Okay, then using the interest rate differential, you can, and the forward premium discount, that is called interest rate parity theory. That means your interest rate differential should reflect in the forward rate, right? And the Fisher effect basically is a economic theory which has given interest rate differential and inflation rate differential are, they have a relationship, correct? And international Fisher effect basically combines interest rate differential with the exchange rate expectation. Okay, but you're actually taking a deviated route. You're not, there is no one formula you're using for this. Instead, using the interest rate differential, using the Fisher effect, arrive at the inflation rate, use that inflation rate and arrive at the PPP to arrive at the exchange rate expectation. That is how you forecast the exchange rates. Okay, so that's it. So basically, this is what we have discussed. A key learning in this chapter is your covered interest arbitrage and understanding the purchasing power parity. But IFE is basically combining of both of them. Yeah, so now I'm open for any debates, any questions you have. I would be able to take it up and answer. You want me to show any slide, any Excel sheet that I did, you can ask me. let me tell you, see, these all look like, theories, that age old, oh, should we learn theory? Practice is different. But trust me, these things are highly practical. This even though they're all theories, in reality, they are true. They are true. That is why RBI, for instance, always keeps working towards the inflation rate, keeping the inflation rate under control. Correct? It has to be in a certain range. Okay, if the inflation rate moves beyond the range, either this way or that way, RBI will enter in to bring, ensure that the exchange rates, inflation rates do not change. Therefore, your exchange rate do not deviate. Correct? I told you it has to be in a certain range. Correct? So these are highly practical. That is why every 3 months once RBI, comes with that monetary policy review, and they come with changes to the interest rates in the market, inflation rate in the market. Primary reason is being this, any extreme movement of interest rate, inflation rate, and thereby exchange rate will directly affect your money supply, the availability of money in your country, your balance of payments, etc. Okay, so it has to be a kind of a system which is connecting all of them. It's highly practical, even though the words are a little boring, when you say parity theory and all that, words are a little boring, but actually it is true. Time and again, a lot of researchers are proving that purchasing power parity theory is holding good. Interest rate parity theory is holding good even today, right? IFE is holding good between many pairs of currencies. Okay, good. I don't see any questions on the chat now. So any questions, any doubts? Okay, fine. So then then what we do is, probably I'll just, we have 5 minutes. I'll just quickly run through your syllabus here. Okay, so what we need to discuss is, after Forex market, logically I should be discussing, I wanted to discuss rather financial markets and then go to, hedging and risk management. But I think with your assignment also things coming up, so I would like to take up the hedging and risk management next class. Okay, similar ones only, interesting, concepts are there. We'll learn that. And then we'll go to international financial market and the remaining. These are all small chapters. Okay, so we can quickly finish this in like 1 hour each. Important one is this: hedging and risk management is, similar to this what we discussed today. It requires some amount of thinking, number crunching here and there to understand the logic there. Okay, so I'll take it up next class. Okay, so fine then. If there are no questions, we'll close the session now. Can we? Okay. Okay, thanks. Okay, so have a good day then, all of you. Have a good weekend. See you all. Okay, Arshad. Okay, I'll share the Excel sheet as a session 5 material. Okay, see you all next week.